Okay.
All right,
Sure.
so we're joined from Charlotte, North Carolina by Mississippi legend, Ridgeland High School alum, Olympic gold medalist, world record holder, double entrepreneur, and assistant track coach there at Queen's University of Charlotte. Bianca Knight, we thank you so much for taking some time for us. This is our entrepreneurship class. I've got a room full here with me at Belma Jackson High School. Our track coach, Shalandria Winston, is also watching with us. And we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, your alma mater. Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule for us.
Absolutely. It's not a problem at all.
Now, obviously, we want to talk about your great career, but I think most people don't know you did graduate from Ridgeland High School. You were the first
Hmm.
ever Mississippian to get track and field Gatorade Athlete of the Year. And then you went to
Hmm.
University of Texas. So just talk about that transition from a high school athlete to a college athlete because you were only there 1 year, but that was a big transition.
It was, throughout high school, I actually trained with collegiate athletes. I had always, kind of pushed myself beyond just where I was. So even though I was younger and I was in high school, I didn't limit myself to only training, at high school and with high school athletes because I understood that the better the competition was that I trained against, the better I'm prepared to, compete. So my transition from high school to college was pretty seamless because I still had that hard work, that hard work ethic. I didn't get to college and get complacent. I didn't ever get complacent with my talent. I understood that in order to get better, you got to keep getting better. So you can never just, relax. So yes, it was pretty seamless from high school to college for the simple fact that I prepared myself mentally and physically to go and get the job done.
Yeah, and we have a lot of athletes in here with us now that do a variety of sports. We have football,
Hmm.
basketball, track, and you can be a great high school athlete, but when you get to
Hmm.
the college level, especially you were in the Big 12 at University of Texas,
Hmm.
everybody's a dog. You've got to
Yeah.
show that you're the best every day. Now,
Hmm.
after 1 year at Texas, you became pro. You won a gold medal in 2011 at the World Championships in Japan.
Hmm.
And then in a famous 40 seconds that I watched live on NBC, you set the became part of the world record and gold medal of the
Hmm.
4x100 with Carmelita Jeter, Tiana Madison, Allison Felix.
Hmm.
You were on the track with some legends, not only on your team but competing against them. So, as somebody that was right down the road to original high school, walking the same halls as those kids, did you ever think you would be on that stage with millions of people watching all over the world, representing our country and setting a world record in the midst of doing that?
To be honest, coming out of high school, no, that was not my initial thought. Um, I don't think it was because I didn't think I had the talent. It's just because I just wasn't very knowledgeable about the sport of track and field. I was just competing and I was just, I was doing well and I knew that I wanted to go to college. So I was only focused on getting a collegiate scholarship and competing for the University of Texas. So I didn't think beyond that until 2008 when the Olympic trials came around and I did try out for my first Olympic team. So after that, I was, kind of like, yeah, I think this is a possibility. I know a lot of people think that because I was always talented, that's kind of like where your headspace goes to. But with some sports, especially track and field, you don't grow up watching the Olympics. It's only every 4 years, but you do regularly see the NBA finals. You regularly see the NFL, the championship. So, um, it's just not something that a track athlete is familiar enough with to, have those aspirations without just being a diehard track and field fan. And I was not a diehard fan. I was just an athlete who loved doing what I was doing. So, it was something that definitely developed later. And once I got there, of course, I didn't even know what the world record was, but I definitely knew we could do something major. So I think it's very important. I never had absolute numbers or absolute stats in my head that I wanted to reach because when you don't hit that, that's kind of when athletes they kind of they don't progress. Once they don't hit that absolute, they don't progress. So I never went into anything with an absolute. I just always wanted to work hard and kind of I understood what I put in is what I get out. So if I give my best input, I get the best output. And it was I just kept it real simple like that.
Now, I want to talk about BK Track Stars and the Bianca Knight Foundation, but just give us a brief, training for the Olympics. We all saw the race where you guys set the world record, but how much did you train to be able just to run your leg in a 40-second race?
Man, if you really count when I started competing, I was 11 years old when I first started the sport of track and field. So it's something that's continuous. You don't start training for the Olympics in the Olympic year. You don't start training for the Olympics 4 years ahead of the next Olympic cycle. It's something that you continuously work for year after year after year. And I mean, there's never any break. So, I mean, realistically, I've been training for the Olympics since I started competing. Even though I
Wow.
didn't know that at the time, that's really, I mean, the Olympics is a big stage. So it's even with football players and basketball players. You do the spring ball games, you do the basketball camps and all of those things for your moment at a national championship, for your moment in the NBA finals. Like you're still training for that moment. Even though it doesn't seem like it at the time. So to be honest, I mean, your whole career is training towards that absolute, which is the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, the Olympic Games, whatever it is, that is the upper echelon of your sport.
Absolutely. Now,
Mm-hmm.
after your professional career ended, you have made some major business moves.
Mm-hmm.
You started the app BK Track
Mm-hmm.
Stars, and you have your nonprofit, the Bianca Knight Foundation. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about the Track Stars first because
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's a digital platform that deals with
Mm-hmm.
athletes, and you don't have a digital background, but you still created a digital platform that is really easy to use and is on multiple app stores. So just tell us about where the idea came from and how you've turned it into making a profit.
Honestly, just seeing other sports and how they operate. With basketball, you have rivals, so you kind of know where you're ranked amongst the other basketball players in your position around the country, in your state, even in your age group, things like that. Same thing for football. You have huddle where you can do the same thing. Track and field didn't have anything like that, so I wanted to
Wow.
create a platform where athletes could actually see where they rank amongst their peers in their sport, in their state, in the nation, in the world. Just, I mean, you can kind of categorize it the way that you want to see how you fare out against your competition. And of course, that helps you moving forward to see your chances for scholarship offers, to see your chances of making it to the state, or, even making it out of district, making it out of regional, North State and South State, things like that. So we didn't have a platform specifically for us for that, like all of the other sports. So it was just basically seeing a need and fixing it.
Yeah, and bktrackstars.com is the website. You have
Hmm.
tons of great stuff on there, and we encourage all of our track and field athletes to get it. It's available on the App Store. Very interesting, and and I never thought about that because you're right. You have other platforms for other sports, and it was with the growing popularity of track and field growing, that is uh, a great arena to get into. Now, obviously, you have the Bianca Knight Foundation. You do a lot of things here in Jackson. You have your relays every year. So you've done a lot to give back to the community.
Hmm.
And you're always looking for people to help out. You're always looking for events to do in and around not only North Carolina, but here in Jackson as well. So just talk
Hmm.
about where the Bianca Knight Foundation was born and what type of work you guys do and how people can get involved.
To be honest, I came from a single parent household, not my entire life, but for the part that required me to need a little bit more help and assistance with pursuing a track and field career. So I went through all of those struggles myself of seeing how something as small as being able to register for a track meet or not having the shoes could prohibit you from going to a meet that you need that exposure from. Because to be honest, when you compete just within your state, sometimes if you're not a track state or a football state or a basketball state, then they don't really believe your stats very much. You have to travel and you have to go and compete against the best around the country so that they can see that no, a Mississippi good is good everywhere. Like it's not just Mississippi good. We good in Mississippi. We good everywhere. So,
Yeah.
I had to prove that. But it costs money. It costs money to do that. And when I was able to help others, I created the foundation because it gives back to underserved track and field programs. Whereas if you don't have blocks, you don't have hurdles, you can't get the proper uniform. Kids can't afford spikes, they can't afford running shoes. So I just go and I close the gap so that is one less thing a child has to worry about because that entry level track is very inexpensive compared to other sports. All you need is a pair of
Absolutely.
shoes for the most part. So if you have the proper equipment, which is of course, like I said, starting blocks if you're a sprinter and shoes if you do everything else, then you can be pretty successful in the sport of track and field. So it really was just about seeing a need and creating a space where kids could have someone that's willing to help close that gap for them.
Yeah, and I know. you do a lot with the Bianca Night relays at Clinton High School every year. That does a
Mhm.
lot for the foundation. Now, something else I
Mhm.
think is important because we've talked about all the things you've accomplished, but something that I think is really cool. You're the assistant track coach there at Queen's University, who just recently
Mhm.
moved to the, and you're a female coaching men, which is
Mhm.
unheard of. And it's not that it
Mhm.
should be regular, but you're a female coaching men. So that is something that you don't hear about a lot, but it is still
Yeah.
something that you become quite successful at and kind of a barrier breaker. So
Yeah.
why should these young girls, say, look, maybe I can coach men too, because
Mhm.
you can coach men just as good as a guy. So what
Yeah.
led you to get to that position, and what type of pushback have you had, if any, being a female coaching a men's sport?
To be honest, I haven't had any pushback. Not well, not it's not to my knowledge. I haven't had any pushback. But to be honest, my experience supersedes my gender. Um, my knowledge and the things that I'm equipped with and the things that I'm able to teach these young athletes, whether it's male or female, beginner or advanced. Again, it doesn't matter if you are male or female. If you don't have that experience, to be able to pour into the kid, and not even just the experience, if you're not able to translate what you have learned into something that's actually teachable and coachable for the kids, for them to grasp and understand, then it doesn't matter. Because a lot of times you can read things out of a book and maybe you can study under somebody and you can kind of try to figure it out, but coaching cues matter, and you don't really know the coaching cues unless you have been an athlete in that position yourself and knows how the language of track and field, how important it is when you're trying to get it translated over to children, especially young children, because I work with kids of all ages. So I think it's a unique gift and it's a unique talent, and I've been able to, of course, make strides right away with Queen's University with a lot of my kids that I coach, breaking the school records and things. We have the relay records now, so I think that again, the resume speaks for itself, but also just because you are a talented athlete doesn't mean that you know how to translate and transfer your knowledge over to someone else. But I do think that that's something that I do very, very well, which is why I'm able to coach both men and women.
That's incredible. Now,
Mhm.
before I get to their question, something I think is important, because obviously you said you weren't intimidated there in the Olympics, but you were literally standing on the track with one of my favorite all-time athletes, Allison Felix,
Mhm.
and the great Carmelita Jeter as well, or Carmelita Jeter as well. So
Mhm.
you were there on the big stage, and you had to think at some point, man, I cannot believe I made it this far. So we have kids all the time that want to give up, that say it's too hard. I can't do this anymore. Whether it's sports, whether it's academics, whether it's a career. So obviously, you're a perfect example of, hey, I came from small town Mississippi. I'm here on the biggest stage in the world. So
Mhm.
when you get to the end of a journey, is the feeling you have worth all the struggle you go through to get there?
Absolutely. I think you really have to learn how to pivot. You have to learn how to adjust to changes. Um, did everything happen in the way that I thought it would? No. But ultimately, did I end up at the exact spot that I felt like I should be? Yes. And I think once athletes get to the point, or not even just athletes, once people in general understand that there's more than one way to get to where you're going, then you won't fixate on the way that you wanted to do it so much so that you just, bail out on the opportunity altogether because it stops looking like you envisioned it. I think that, once I made it there, I mean, it made sense. A lot of things made sense. It was very stressful. Again, from 11 years old, full circle, just going back, like, man, like, I'm at the Olympics right now. Like, I'm competing at the Olympics right now, and to come back, first Olympics, world record, gold medal. It's like I hit all of the spots in one rip or whatever. And it's like no one thinks that you'll do that, but I did. And I wasn't surprised or anything like that because no one works hard and don't expect to be rewarded for it. I was never the athlete or the student for that matter. When I knew that I had track meets the week of, I got my work completed ahead of time. When I knew that I had to be anywhere, that was gonna require me to miss out on anything, any school function, my school track meets or anything, I over communicated and made sure that, I kind of hit all the right spots and did everything I was supposed to do. So I was never one of those athletes or students that I needed to be told what to do. My motivation was strictly within the results that I wanted for myself. I don't need anybody to motivate me to want to do well. And if you got people out there that want it more than you and they're motivating you to do your work, go to class, do this, show up on time, do all of those things, then you have to reevaluate what it is that you feel like you really want for yourself, because no one should have to tell a person. You don't have to tell winners that. You have to see people that are just okay, they're pretty good. You may have to motivate them, but winners, you don't have to motivate. You don't have to do that. So I never needed motivation outside of, if I want to do well, this is what I got to do.
That's awesome. Well, I do have some questions from the students. I get as many of these as I can, and these are really good. In this class, they've all come up with their own business concepts.
Oh,
But like
wow.
I said, we have a lot of athletes in here. This first one is Shirai Luckett. He's in 10th grade. He's got a business concept of trucking and transportation. But
Okay.
he asked, what was one career you thought you would pursue if you had not been an athlete? And did you ever think you'd be an entrepreneur?
Never thought I'd be an entrepreneur ever. Never even thought I'd be a coach, to be honest. Never thought I would do those things. I thought I was gonna be a forensic psychiatrist. Hannibal Lecter is one of my favorite movies, and I love the work that they did on the crime show. I watched First 48 and Forensic Files all my life, and my mom was a nurse, so I thought that I would go the route of being either in the medical field or forensic psychiatry, where I assess crime scenes to try to figure out what the killer was thinking and what happened and try to put the pieces together. So that's what I thought I would be doing.
Yeah, and it's like you said, learn how to pivot. I think you made one heck of a pivot in going the way
Yeah,
you went. Uh,
I did.
this is Jaden Latiker. He's a senior. He's graduating in just a few weeks, and
Hmm.
he asked, with all the stress that goes into being an Olympic athlete, how are you able to manage it and go from small town Mississippi to an Olympic gold medalist?
Controlling what you can control.
There you
When
go.
it's something, when you're approaching something new for the first time, it's unrealistic to go in and think that you would know how to handle it. Because it's something that you're doing for the first time. So the way that you approach that is control what you can control and do well the things that you know that you can do well. So that when something new arises, the only thing you have to deal with is that thing that's new. Because at its core, I'm still going to run track. I'm still going to compete. I've competed in that country before. I've competed with these girls before. The only thing is different is this is the Olympics. So now I just have to go out here and just do what I'm supposed to do, because everything else remains like the thing that's a constant. Focus on the constant. The only thing that was different was that it was the Olympics. So you don't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah, and like we said, and people forget, just the year before that, you guys were the world champions in Daegu,
Right.
Japan, which is
Mhm.
the same race, same competitors, and was
Mhm.
other than Tiana Madison, it was the same team. So
Right.
y'all already worked together, so it was all about trusting the process you'd already done.
Mhm.
I like this one. This is Caden Williams. He's a sophomore, one of our football players, and he asked, "What was the most memorable moment you had competing, and does that moment uh, shape the way you coach today?"
Yes. One of my I have two most memorable moments. One was setting a world record indoors for the 200. I became the first
That's right.
female ever in the world to break 23 seconds indoors, and it took
Wow.
17, almost took 20 years for somebody else to break it. It just got broken about 2 years ago, I think. So to see how far ahead of my time I was with something like that, when I'm just from small town Mississippi, I didn't know. Like I just went out to Idaho, ran my race, and looked up, and I had a record that really and honestly, truly stood the test of time. And then of course, following year did the same thing in University of Texas. I broke the collegiate record that lasted for 10 years. It took 10 years for anybody to break that record, and it took 16 for anybody that went to the University of Texas to break it. So those are things that I didn't realize at the time, but when I look back, I'm like, man, like I enjoyed what I did. And I thought those moments were special at the time, but I really, really realized how special they were after the fact. And also, being Mississippi Gatorade Athlete of the Year. Now, I'm the first of only two to ever receive that award from Mississippi in any sport. Last year, the baseball player from Jackson Academy or Jackson Prep.
Yeah, Jackson
Um,
Prep. Yeah,
yes, we're the only two athletes in football, soccer, basketball. Doesn't matter the sport. We're the only two to ever receive that award. That we're the only
yeah,
two. So
yeah.
I
He was a
thought that
first
was
round, and he was a
special.
first round draft pick. So that just shows you how.
Yes.
Uh,
And I thought that was special because you got to think we had Brett Favre, we had not, yeah, we had so many other baseball players from Mississippi, so many talented football players that could have gotten that award, but they never did. So to come from a sport that, I mean, a state that per capita creates so many great athletes, but none of them ever received that award. I mean, that meant something to me. So that was one of my most memorable things to have that be the first. I've been the first of a lot of things, and so I like that.
Well, I always say just because you're the first at something doesn't mean you can't be the best at it. Because just because you
Correct.
haven't seen it doesn't mean it can't happen. And that's
Yep.
such an obstacle that our young people have is, you can't help who your parents are. You cannot help for the most part your environment or your surroundings, but you have to make the decision to be the one to do it. And I
Yep.
think you're a perfect example of that. I got
Mm-hmm.
one more question. This is Destiny Smith. She's a senior, also very close to graduation.
Okay.
Graduation. And she asked, what advice would you give to someone if they felt hopeless, whether it was sports or academics?
I tell them to separate the facts from their feelings, so that you can distinguish why you feel the way that you feel, and you can see if it's self-imposed or if it's true things that's going against you. Because every problem has a solution. So if it's your grades, it's your coursework, it's your opportunity to go to college or whatever the case may be. Look at your GPA. Have you been doing the things that you need to do to have an adequate GPA? Have you been getting the tutoring? Have you been doing the extra work? Have you been communicating with your professors? Have you been truly doing everything that you need to do to be able to put yourself in a position to receive scholarships? If you have done that, then have you sourced the scholarships and grants that are available for you? If you have not done those things, then you should not be worried, because that just means that you have not put yourself in a position to be successful in that sector. So it's self-imposed. No, it's nothing against you. It's just the work that you're failing to do on your own because you don't want to do it, or you don't know how to do it, and you don't want to ask. So I'll say, always assess your situation, even if it's with athletics. Assess your situation. Do your coach have to tell you to come to practice? Do you show up on time? Are you working hard? Are you honestly and truly giving your best effort every single day, even the days that you don't feel like doing it? If you answer no to any of those questions, then that's where your problem is, and that's fixable. You can fix that. So I always tell people, like, let's just celebrate. Separate how you feeling versus what's actually happening, and then it'll usually make it a little bit easier.
There you go. Love it. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple of things before we go. BKFgives.org is the
Hmm.
website for the Bianca Knight Foundation. BKTrackStars.com is the website for BK Track
Hmm.
Stars. All the social media information is on there. A lot of cool stuff you're posting. And for the Bianca Knight Foundation, there's ways they can get involved on that as well.
Hmm.
Now, the last thing before we go, and it's just so cool to talk to somebody I've been such a fan of for so long. But
Hmm.
like you said, especially for our friends over at Ridgeland High School,
Yeah.
you were walking the same hallways with some of those same teachers. I think it's cool. Me and you both had the same English teacher. Me at Madison Central, you at Ridgeland High, Beverly Sinley, one of the best
Yeah.
I ever had. And big shout out to her. I know she's retired now, but she was a good one. But
Hmm.
you were walking the same hallways in the same community, same
Yeah.
building, sitting in those same chairs, but yet you have just turned it into an incredible career that I will put up against any athlete, any business person. So it can be done. So as these
Hmm.
kids are getting ready to transition out of high school, no matter what their plans are, what can they do to get ready to overcome those obstacles that they are
Hmm.
going to face?
Look, just for one, you're never gonna know if you're gonna be successful at something if you don't give it a try. Nobody's successful on their first try. Everybody fails at something, but in order for you to fail, you still have to make the attempt. You got to make the attempt. So make the attempt at what it is that you want to do. Research what it is that you want to do, and see where you can pivot into outside of what it is that you're looking at. You may say that you want to, again, with your student who has aspirations of trucking and doing that type of business. Maybe you will pivot into logistics. Maybe you don't own your own trucks, but maybe you learn how to create a platform to help other truckers. So sometimes it's like you don't have to fully get out of the sector that you're interested in. You can just see what you can pivot into to help you create something that's still in the vicinity of what it is that you have dreams of doing. So I think you just have to keep an open mind, and again, be prepared for the pivot, man. Be prepared that things can look different. And when it starts looking different, that doesn't mean that it's over for you. That just means that you're trying to be shown a different route. And you say, okay, cool. I'm gonna go a different route. I'm gonna go a different route.
Love it. Well, I know you got to get back to work, and we thank you so much for fitting us in your tight schedule. Next time you're in town, we would love to have you on
Absolutely.
campus. But I know your schedule's crazy. But again, we thank you so much for joining us. Ridgeland High School alum, world record holder, Olympic gold medalist, assistant track coach there at Queen's University of Charlotte, Bianca Knight. We thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm available anytime.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
Thank you.